more Therese stories? I can think of Therese, how happy she was with Bill's Air Force shirts. She loved wearing those, and she tied them, the long tails in the front. She'd tie them in front. I thought it was the most sophisticated look.
You know what I remember? This is kind of a Genevieve and Francis story. Therese and my clothes were made by Aunt Geraldine. Even our winter coats many times. And I remember one time John got a coat and it was too small and Mom didn't send it back on time. And I wore this all-weather boy's jacket. I thought it was great. But I was in the 8th grade. I think Therese was in the 6th. Genevieve and Francis bought us these navy blue long winter coats. Therese and I thought we were the Queen and Princess of England. Here we had these beautiful coats that were store-bought, you know, and length, and, you know, they were stylish, just like everybody else had. It was just great. And then one time they bought us dresses for Easter, and Teresa's we had flowers, and Therese had pink flowers on hers, and I had yellow. But we thought we were the greatest thing getting ready to go to Mass on Sunday with these new pink and yellow floral dresses.
Well, I must have been strutting around with my coat.
Mary Kay, I remember when you were in the front yard, we just come back from church and you were in your beautiful First Communion dress.
Do you know, one night we ate early and rode to Everest, and Geraldine measured me and made that dress that night with those ruffles. She measured and sewed it up maybe she didn't finish it that night, but she measured it and had the little ruffles around the waist and around the neck. But I remember driving, I got to get out there and get that dress made for Mary's First Communion. We drove all the way to Everest. And she never had a pattern. I don't know how she did it.
She made my First Communion dress too, or did I wear yours? Maybe
you wore mine, I think. And you know, she'd take their old coats and cut out the good parts. And see, before they used to make quilts with that, patchwork quilts, but she'd have pieces that were big enough to make Therese and me coats. I had a little green coat she made us. They had kind of a nub on it that she made out of Mom's coat that I thought I was great.
And she made all these little jumpers for us.
All those terrible smocks we wore in long sleeves and buttoned down the back in the summer.
Oh, I don't remember those, but she made jumpers.
Yeah.
We had a blouse underneath and these little jumpers with straps. She made it out of their clothes.
No, but in the summer, we had to wear bonnets with the cardboard in it so the sun wouldn't get it. Geraldine made the bonnets and we would cut out the cardboard. And we had to wear these little dresses she made out of feed sacks that buttoned down the bottom and had long sleeves so we wouldn't get sunburned and freckled. The thing was to protect our skin.
Right.
So here we running around barefoot. We couldn't afford shoes. And we had these long sleeve little things.
We saved our tablets, our Big Chief tablets. And that was the cardboard we cut for slats for our bonnets. They would come out like this. And every year you'd have to replace those little slats. But those were so hot. Oh my gosh,
they were horrible. They were like, what's the prairie? That used to be on TV or the book.
Oh, so
yeah, that's what the bonnets were like, tied in the back.
I'd get out on the tractor sometimes and roll up my sleeves.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
it was so hot.
Yeah, they were so hot. But Mom wanted us, I mean, it was really lace curtain Irish to have fair skin. And all my friends were going to in town, were going to the swimming pool and they were so tanned. And I was this white, so white. So when I go out on the tractor, I'd roll everything up as high as I could get it and take off the straw hat. By that time I was wearing a straw hat.
Oh, hi.
And I would sing on the tractor. And of course, to me, the tractor was so loud that I could hardly hear my singing. But Mary Graves said she would hear me singing on the tractor because when you get at a distance, all you can hear is the singing. It's serenading Mary Graves and her hired man, I guess.
Okay.
Yes,
Where do you think Geraldine learned how to sew?
at the Mount.
Yeah, they took
Yeah,
sewing.
she took sewing. Forget their classmate, Sister Marcella, then went on to major in home economics, but they learned how to sew. And Sister St. John, the sister from France, when the nuns were persecuted, they came to the United States, and she taught them a lot of fancy work. It was amazing, the embroidery. Now, Geraldine did fancier work than Mom did.
Yeah,
I don't think Mom wanted to be bothered, but Geraldine had beautiful work she did. But the girls had nothing to do, sit there. So the sisters taught them how to do all this beautiful fancy work, needlework.
they would do that in the evenings.
Right. Uh-huh. But I don't think Mom was too interested because she wasn't that good. But Geraldine was excellent.
Back to the hair.
The hair?
Curl your hair with rags, Mary Kay?
Who?
Was your hair curled with rags?
Shoot, my hair was curled with rags when they wanted on Sunday tear up some rags about 3 inches long and
Uh-oh.
take a strand of hair and tie it on the end, tie a knot, and then roll it up and put another knot in it. And
What is
that was, oh, that was wicked to try to sleep with those knots on your head. They were worse than curlers. Had
And it
these
made your
rags.
hair, and your hair was frizzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of us had rags. All of
And
us
then
had-
the ends would be straight. Your hair would be frizzy and then have straight ends where they put the knot around the ends. We were cute. We were little dolls, I tell you.
Do you remember the sewing machines that operated with the feet, the pedals?
The feet?
treadle.
Pardon?
Yeah, but
Treadles?
Yeah.
let's see, by the time we came along, Mom had the electric singer. And then when I went to the convent, because I was a 4-H'er and everything, I had to do all the sewing, making all the things for everybody. And we had treadle sewing machines, so I learned how to pump those sewing machines and sew.
Miss
But I
Mrs. Hart had those too. I loved the treadles. I thought the rhythm of the treadles I thought was wonderful.
I don't know
liked
what
it.
happened to ours that we had
I
there.
preferred it.
You what?
I preferred the treadle. I love.
What happened to the treadle machine?
I
We
don't
never
know.
had one.
I never had one.
Electric.
Bernadine had one, didn't she? She taught us how to sew on a treadle machine.
Not
Well, you
me.
would have used it with Mrs. Neihart in 4-H. Because she had treadles.
I don't know if I.
Yeah, there's a little side note here I can tell you. The Singer Sewing Machine Company was located here in Pickens.
The Pickens.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And the reason was they had forests up here that they used to make the cabinets.
Oh,
Yeah, miss.
Interesting.
I remember Mom's cabinet. It was very nice. Would go down underneath, and lid would come down. I remember that. Was talking of sewing, I remember in the 8th grade, I was going to crown Our Lady for the May crowning. And Tracy made me a lovely dress with a beautiful blue sash. And she and Mom came over and helped me get ready. And I just felt, oh, wow.
Was it
I-
white,
What?
white, Dorothy?
White, yes.
With the blue sash. It was beautiful.
uh-huh.
You were darling. You were just so cute.
Therese made one for me too, and I got in trouble with Therese when she made it because she was showing me the pattern. And, you know, there were always like 3 different views. You know, you pick A, B, or C.
Mhm.
And I wanted the neck on one, and I was pointing to that, but I didn't want the rest of it. And Therese ended up doing the whole thing and it being much more complicated. You know, it was a lot more work to have done it that view, and I didn't want the whole view. I just wanted, you know, one part of it. So there was a failure of communication, and there was another time there was a failure of communication. Therese used to, after we graduated from rags for hair, we would go to pin curls. So it was all done with bobby pins. And Therese would do up our hair with bobby pins. And one night, she would always like go to bed early. Therese would, you know, we'd be all talking and Therese would say, I need my beauty rest. And she'd go upstairs to bed. I think she was much more in tune with her body than the rest of us were and what the body needed. But anyway, she went upstairs and I came up, Therese was in bed and I come in with the curlers and they're in this green, round green thing with a magnet in the bottom that would hold all the bobby pins in. And with the, you know, coming in like Oliver Twist, wanting more porridge, coming in with this thing of bobby pins, and I put it down and it threw it at me. And I have that, and it's got, I glued it back together, but it got broken in being thrown at my head. But I don't know if it's my curls that night or not. I don't think so.
I'm so sorry. I really had a temper, didn't I?
Well, you were in bed and here I was, but you always were.
The other memory I have is
I used to come home from dates with Leroy, and I'd come in and Dorothy and Mom would be sitting at the kitchen table waiting for me to do up their hair.
Oh, you told me that, yeah.
Another memory I have of Tracy is being on the stage at the Mount. I think it was her junior year.
Oh,
Little
yes.
Red Riding Hood.
Grandma's Sly Boots.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, wasn't she good? I was so proud. I was in the novitiate and come over and my sister was the star of the play and Sister Paula was so proud. Your sister is the star.
Yeah.
You know, I had a minor role. I had a minor role in that. And
The Wolf?
I had a minor role in the beginning.
Oh.
And Teresa Murphy had the lead. And she missed one of the practices and Paula was so upset with her that she picked me. And somehow or another, I did come into my own. Because
Well, you were
the wolf was, you know, really kind of, what's the word? Sarcastic and all that. I must have played it pretty well. And I remember when I was playing it, this little kid, I said, one of my lines was, aren't I smart? Aren't I just the slyest wolf you ever met? And this little kid comes running up to the stage, shaking his fist, and he says, you are not, you are not.
I remember afterwards, little kids, you came out to the, it was in the Mount Auditorium, and it was full of kids, and you came out in your wolf costume, and the little kids were afraid of you.
Yeah, I remember
Yes.
that.
And Sister Paula said, take off your head, take off your head. So I took off my head, and of course, then they all came around. And one little kid who had been crying wanted to try the head on.
Oh, really?
On him, and he was so cute, really precious. But one of them, yeah, he came up to the stage shaking his fist. He says, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna get my dad's gun and I'm coming back here and I'm gonna shoot you.
Well, he was into the story.
Yes.
Therese, can you still sing?
Can I still sing?
Sing the song.
Which song? I didn't sing in that one.
Oh, you didn't sing in that one.
Mm-mm. But you know what I used to be really good at is whistling.
Right.
In fact, Mom wanted to find somebody to teach me whistling lessons before I started voice lessons, but she didn't know of anybody who taught whistling lessons.
Hmm.
But I don't know, about the last 7, 8 years, I haven't been able to whistle. I don't know whether it's, my lips just don't function that way anymore. But I was, until about 10 years ago, I could still whistle really well. And when I was in North Carolina, there was a National Whistlers Convention
Oh,
in a place up north from where we were. I forget the name of the town. So Loretta and I went up there to attend this Whistlers Convention. We heard amazing whistlers.
Hmm.
And during the noon hour, when the place was empty, Loretta took my picture in front of the picture of that said, the big poster that said National Whistlers Convention.
Oh.
I tucked up and she took my picture. But I used to whistle for religious stuff at the Mount. People were always asking me to whistle.
Mhm.
when you entered, you were whistling, and then they tell you sisters don't whistle.
That's right. Blessed Mother cries when you whistle.
And they didn't let you have pet squirrels either. She used to sit on the wall down by the chicken yard that was below. There was a wall. We'd go in the back door to go to the prayers and everything. And she had a pet squirrel that would sit on her lap. Remember that, Therese?
I never did. That was not me.
I thought it was you.
No, don't think so.
Somebody had a pet squirrel.
A little bit more.
Therese, why did you decide to join the convent? And I know you thought of joining the Maryknolls.
Not the Maryknolls, the Glen Marys.
Oh, was it?
The Glen Marys was a rural order in
Water.
the south, in the mountains. And I think a priest came and talked about it, and I just got interested. I thought, oh, that sounds so interesting, to work with the rural poor. And so I sent a letter to them to ask about doing an internship one summer, and they didn't have any room left. I think they were all filled up. So I don't know. I was visiting Mary Kay. It was like
We were in that south room. And I said, when are you going to the Glen Marys? She said, oh, if I can enter here today, I'd enter here today.
I said if I had my tuition paid off. And it was 4 weeks from the day. We were sitting outside.
You went over and talked to Mother Alfred that day, didn't you?
Yes, you said, oh, you got excited, and you said, well, let's go talk to Mother Alfred. So we did. And I came home and I said, I'm entering the convent 4 weeks from today. And I burst into tears. I was just bawling. And the day I entered, you remember when Mary Kay entered, everybody was crying?
Right.
There were no tears the day I entered. And the day that I entered, we went to the Mount, and then we got our clothes on, and then the family came back when we were in our little postulant outfit, black blouse, skirt, and a little jacket, and our little veil. And the family came back up to see me, and Anne had on the high heels that I had taken off that day. And the skirt that I had taken off. Because they took them home, and she put them back on and came up to visit. She was dressed in my 3-inch heels. And
you had
well, you know what was so bad in those days? Because you were leaving forever. You could never go home to visit. And all of this, and it was just, oh, I'm gone. And then what was so strange was the relatives would come from out of town. They could come 4 times a year, and they'd stay 3 days. And your family would come and stay a couple hours if you were local. That was just strange.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I had to put up with the questions from all the sisters. And when are you going to be entering the convent?
Oh, really?
I did too. Yeah, they all expected me to, when you would, I think it was senior day, when you would announce your plans, everyone was waiting for me to say I was going in the convent. But Therese, you had beautiful clothes, And you made most of them. And Mom used to say, Therese has a knack that she can look at something that looks like it should be made into curtains and make the most wonderful clothes out of them. She just knows what's going to look good. At the Mount, we wore uniforms in the academy, but for the first month, we didn't have to wear uniforms. And I remember after you joined the convent that fall, for that first month, I never wore the same thing twice. And it's because of your clothes. Well,
That's interesting.
Yeah, you had really nice stuff, but
And most of it I made.
you made it all.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mom was so impressed with what you made because she said Therese has a good eye.
And who had the 4th of July skirt? Was that Mary Kay or Therese?
That was me.
I thought it was you.
Yeah, it was red, white, and it was actually black, but it looked like a dark blue. And
Didn't you wear it under your,
wore it under my, I wore it under my black skirt.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I used to make a lot of clothes, but I hardly sew anymore at all. And every time I sew, it's like I have to learn all over again because I'm so rusty. And then I get into it. But I always appreciated sewing because that's the only way we had any clothes on the farm was to make our own.
And another thing, when you joined the convent, John was already married, excuse me, and he came home and there were Chuck and Dot and I, Mom and Daddy, and he looked around at us mopes and he said, the spark has come out of this family.
Oh my, and John and I used to fight like crazy. John and I fought a lot. We were so much alike, I think. But I had lots of good times with John. I remember one summer, Daddy set up the tables with the supers. You just had a flat board and the supers. He set it up out in the driveway where we used to park our car, there on the west side of the house. And John and I were set up there and we put the radio in the window because, you didn't have anything like a transistor radio. Everything had to be plugged in. And we sat out there and listened to the top 40. And we knew the top 40 from 1 to 39 to 40. And we used to talk about all kinds of stuff. I heard John's philosophy about lots of things. But that was a really good summer.
You working on bee stuff?
We worked on bee stuff, putting in foundation. Well, we were repairing a lot of stuff, and then we were putting in foundation because Daddy would, as fast as we could get it done, he'd be taking it out to the bee yards.
Was that by the cave? Because I remember sitting there by the cave, cleaning with the hive iron, cleaning the frame, putting the foundation in, and listening to the top 40.
Yes, it was.
Countdown on Friday, down to number 1.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Hit parade was something else, wasn't it?
What was that?
Hit parade. Remember how we had to watch Hit Parade and listen to Hit Parade on Saturday nights? What was number 1?
Right.
But Therese, I think the reason why we didn't cry when you left is because you were rather unhappy trying to make up your mind what to do. And I think there was a lot of tension over that.
I cried a lot because I kept thinking the morning after I decided, I woke up and I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done?
What did Mary Kay make me do?
And it took me a while to settle in, but I was really, I just tell people now, I'm just so grateful. I think this has been a really good life for me.
God writes the crooked lines, doesn't he?
I get to pray the Psalms every day and live in community with all these amazing people. Yeah, I really think it's been a great ride for me.